well as what you can share out with families at this point in the year. And I'll take any questions that you may have lingering at the end. I should also say every time we meet, we're available for CTLE credit. So I'll put up that slide with a session number. If you've got to run to grab your students, no problem. I'll link that in my follow-up email and you can fill it out later. Here are some of the handouts that I'm going to give you. I'm not going to just overload the chat. As I said, these are coming in my follow-up email. I want to give you the Teacher Success Guide because I'm holding up a hard copy. If you can see this or if you've had this in the past, the how-to section in the back is great for your own independent reference. So if you have questions surrounding how to reassign a diagnostic, cancel one, how to assign an online lesson, how to view a data report, this back section, you can see me, it has screenshots of your teacher dashboard and step-by-step instructions of how to do something. So it's a really nice visual that makes it easy for you to do on your own. You can always email me, but this is a great resource at your fingertips. And go and learn a little bit more about what their student is experiencing with the program. So if that sounds good to you, I want to open it up to you first. Hear about the diagnostic process so far this year, what concerns you may have with the second round, or what tools you may need moving forward to get the best data possible. So how is it going? What questions do you have about giving the diagnostic? Where do you need more support in this area, if at all? So our first step here.
So Alicia, I'd like to just say I sent out an email this morning. The math department is going to begin the second diagnostic on Monday.
Great.
We haven't begun to administer it yet.
Okay.
We were slated figuring out a date. Originally it was going to be February 7th, but after speaking with administration, they decided to change it. So Monday we'll begin the second diagnostic so we can collect that data.
Perfect. So we're right on the cusp, and we have today to potentially prep our kids, get them ready. Right. What tools do you need? How are you feeling about this second round? Do you think that you and your students are prepared? Where can I help in this department? If we don't need to dwell on it and you're good to go, that's fine. I always say I don't know what I don't know, so I want to support you here if need be.
Likewise, I can't answer that. I'm not in the math department, so maybe if someone in the math department would like to answer that.
So we'll see. We'll figure it out. We always make way to complete the task. All right, thank you.
All right, great. So I'm just going to hop over to my dashboard really quickly. This is under assessment with the diagnostic right here for. See this here? Rosters, class, assessment shown. You can hide it outside of school hours to make sure that students aren't logging in at home and taking it outside of school to make sure you get that really reliable data and that they're taking it with you and not getting outside support, okay? And then lastly, what I want to show you that lives on IREADY Central is all of the tools available to you for getting your students ready if you need it, like a PowerPoint presentation that's available in English and Spanish. I want you to see, I just searched for subsequent diagnostic. You also have little videos that you can watch, middle school lesson planning slides and talking points, if that is something that you would like to use. Best practices for engaging your kids here. Okay? So that's my quick little bit about giving the diagnostic. I want to really, right away, move on to online instruction then and see how you're currently using online lessons, if you are using online lessons, and where do you need support in this area for your kids? Because I know that at the teacher level, a lot of us are in different places in terms of implementing this in your respective classrooms. Any questions about what your kids are seeing online, how you monitor, how you teach or assign lessons? where their my path comes from. We're okay here?
I think Alicia,
we're
at this point, there's only about 2, maybe 3 new people in the math department. So for the most part, I think this might be like, as far as the homework goes and stuff, or assigning work, they should be pretty familiar with that.
Okay. So we'll jump right in math. You want to open it up to your class. Just using a 6th grade class as an example here. You can come down to window 2, or if it says winter window for you, that's great. You'll notice that the 5-level placement is new for you this year. This shows you a greater differential in spread, so you can see students that are mid or above grade level in the green stripe, or any students on the other end of the spectrum, 3 or more grade levels below with this red stripe. If you prefer to leave it on the 3-level placement, that's great as well. This gives you the breakdown of your overall placement distribution in your class, how many of your students are on grade level, 1 grade level below, or 2 or more grade levels below, and then which domains are your areas of strength or areas of need. And so from here, we can always get more granular. So let's say that my area that I'm looking to support at the moment is algebra and algebraic thinking. I have this chunk of students that are just 1 grade level below, or I can really focus in and push them on that path to proficiency. I want to locate these students, see how to provide support. So I would come down here and I want to use these little arrows next to my domain. So algebra, I'm going to sort high to low. See that? This gives you some small group definition. And then here are all my students that are 1 grade level below. I can click into their individual student report to see those next steps and resources for instruction, because all of these students need help in the same area. So I can look at JAG, scroll down, see his growth goals. And then if I want to stay within this domain, I can keep scrolling, click on this domain, and find that targeted approach for this content. So you see it's all listed out nicely here. I can click on the plus sign and I will get more information, as well as ready-made lesson plans in English and in Spanish that I can use at the small group level with that group of students. So not just him, but any students that are in that space. I can also see the standard alignment of what this student can do to build upon. But to take that a step further, you want to use 2 other reports. The instructional groupings report is first, where you can scroll up here and come over here in the reports tab on the right-hand side, your instructional groupings in math. And I will see from group 1 to 4, the advancement. Group 1 and 2 are always going to be focused on your foundational domains of numbers and operations and algebra and algebraic thinking. When you get into 3 and 4, it's going to be geometry, which I know comes later in your scope and sequence, or students that are already on or above grade level. I'm going to focus here on group 2. I'll see that my students are grouped together based on what I was looking at originally, that 1 grade level below in algebra and algebraic thinking. You see that in the grouping description. And then down here, it is a very detailed, fleshed out look at the instructional priorities for these students. So what do they need support with? How can we teach to that? When you keep scrolling, here are listed out recommendations for your teacher-led instruction. And that you notice this is a lot meatier than that student report. And it gives it to you bulleted by area, number-based 10, operations, number fractions. And then on the right-hand side are those aligned, once again, ready-made lesson plans, those tools for instruction that are at your disposal. So you don't have to go searching for that supplemental resource elsewhere in your platform. It's directly in this instructional groupings report. This is a great place for you to look once you have all of your data collected. In case this is something you haven't used before, I want to pause, make sure you know how to locate this and read this report. Is this comfortable for everyone?
I think for the most part, Alicia, this is useful only because we made an SBO agreement earlier in the year where we will have a tutoring period in the mornings, one morning per subject. And I know for myself, for the ELA, I use this particular tool to select my students to see in the morning for the tutoring. And then I had the data here to provide to administration that showed why I chose the students and what we were actually working on. So it is pretty useful in helping to choose the students, and it provides a data source of why you chose those students, that you have some sound logic to what you're doing. So this is pretty useful if anybody needs to add students or change students, or, this is a pretty good tool.
Absolutely. Now let me show you one other report that was new last year, so maybe you haven't used it yet. It's specifically for math that also aggregates the data and groups your students based on some grade level outcomes that you may be teaching to, where your students may need additional support. This is in the reports tab as well. It's called the math prerequisite report. It's right next to the instructional groupings report. Everyone see this? I'm going to click in here, and I would love for one of the teachers on the call to tell me first their grade level, 6, 7, or 8. Somebody call out for me.
8.
8. Okay. You look at an 8th grade class. And now tell me, from this topic drop-down menu, what is a unit of study or a topic that you're currently focused on with your students?
Slope linear equations and system of equations.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Palgon. So I'm going to click this topic support, and here's what you get within this tool. So this is for your planning with what you're currently doing in your scope and sequence and with your core curriculum. I can click on this learning progression here, and I will see, okay, if I'm teaching to this 8th grade outcome standard, and I want to know what prerequisite skills need to be built upon from the previous grades, 7th grade, 6th grade, or if you're a 6th grade teacher, it will show you 5th grade, 4th grade, those building blocks that students need to establish in order to, they need kind of filling in the holes or filling in some of the gaps. Once I've taken a look at this tool, I can scroll down, and I want you to see how IREADY has grouped your students, A, B, C, D, with these prerequisite skills for this topic. Who has shown mastery of these prerequisite skills based on the diagnostic? Who's good to go? In my class, I don't have anybody currently, and that's okay. I have some students that have established a couple, need additional support in a few. But if I focus on group D over here, huge chunk of my kids need in-depth review for all 4 of these prerequisite skills. So once you get your new results, take a look at how your students are grouped here versus maybe the small groups that you've already created or the ways that you're already differentiating in your class. Then you can click on this recommendations PDF right here under the topic group name, and you will find the reasons why they were grouped together and ways to support each of these skills where your students are at the level they currently are. So if I scroll, you'll see in understanding proportional relationships, these students are at a 6th grade level. What tools do I have within IREADY to help here? I have this tool for instruction at the small group teacher-led level. Okay, I can employ this. I also have linked for me which learning games are aligned to that skill practice for independent reinforcement. That's great for centers. They're great for homework. Instead of having your students going into learning games for free play, you can make it more focused and match to the skills where they need that really focused support. So this document takes you through each one of the groupings as well as each one of the skills.
I have a question added to this. So now that I discovered this,
Yes.
then I will have to individually assign to each of these kids, or there is a particular tool that's going to be easier to click on and it will send them this lessons that they need to go over it.
Great question. So when this is teacher-led small groups and this tool for instruction, this is for you to use at the teacher level. So that's not about you assigning an online lesson to them. That's a resource for you that you can pull from IREADY. So all I would do here is copy this tool for instruction, points in a coordinate plane, come over to my dashboard, and go into those tools for instruction and assess and teach in math and locate that resource. All I'm going to do is copy and paste it in here. Oh, and it should pop up. I think I got the grade level wrong. It was probably a 7th grade lesson. But that's the easiest way to do it. Now, in terms of the learning games, right? So it says play cupcake. Learning games cannot be assigned, right? They click into their learning games and they have access to learning games at their level. You could just instruct a student this week, I want you to focus on these particular games. So you don't need to assign anything to a student. That's the short answer there.
So
I hope that answers your question.
I got a quick question. So those focus group, right? For example, the one that you have in group 4. So there are already like 15 students there, and those students were already identified that they have this missing, or they have this gap. So I already will pinpoint like this one, Abby, Zandy. So as soon as they log into IREADY, they will already have this preset work for them to bridge this gap.
Exactly, and thank you for pointing that out. So the online lessons are already tailored to the support that they need, right?
Yeah.
So this is where they will be focused in their My Path for online lessons. So you don't have to assign a thing. It's already focused there.
So once they log in, each of the student will already have pre-assigned to bridge the gap between the
Okay, Anna, it's only the level 4, correct?
No, not all of them, Martha. Like all of them. Like for example, Glenia will log in, or Aki will log in. They already have the preset work for them to bridge the gap of additional support. All you have to do is give it to them.
Martha, if you on Monday administer the diagnostic and then do nothing after that, the work will automatically be assigned to the students based off the result of the diagnostics. So there's no additional work for you to incur.
But on the previous, we had different levels, right? And that's how we grouped it.
Right. So the work.
She said that the last level, which is all the way to the right, they are already assigned. But what about the other ones that are, for example, that are level B, C, and is also assigned as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All work is assigned, regardless of level. So each individual student is assigned individual assignments automatically based off the results of their diagnostic. Everything is tailored individually to the student based off the results of the diagnostic. So theoretically, you just give the diagnostic and then you don't have to do anything after that other than have the kids log in and do the work that's tailored to them.
Okay. That's how we've been doing anyway. Thank you.
Yeah. Does that clarify for you?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. And then if you want to, if you had those early morning groups, those kids coming in, if that's where you wanted to get into the individual work, that's where you could if you wanted to.
And I appreciate that clarifying question because we're essentially talking about 2 different lanes. One is their independent work online that's already assigned for them that we're discussing now. And then what I'm showing you here is the way to use the data at the teacher level to help with your planning and your instruction in the classroom. So basically 2 separate prongs, right? That's the division within IREADY. The last thing that I want to show you, aside from the student report, where you get, as we looked at, their results, their next steps for instruction. There is also a for families report here that you can share out with parents, whether you talk about it in a parent-teacher conference or you send this data home. I mentioned it at the PTA meeting. I think it's a really great resource for you to show where your students are making improvement or where they still need to focus. When you go into your reports tab, click on student, and it's for families over here on the left-hand side. You come into math. I was previously looking at JAG, so they pulled JAG up for me. Here, you can access this report in English or in Spanish. You can download this as a PDF or print it, and you can do it for your full class as a batch, so you don't have to do it one by one by one. And I want you to see here the language. This is kind of consistent, but the language of this report is easier for a family member to understand than the teacher-facing language that you get in the student report. So this says things like needs improvement, approaching grade level, at grade level, basic terms that a parent can understand and you can talk through with them. It shows the results of the diagnostic from 1 to 2 if they've shown improvement. And then when you scroll down, which I think is the really nice asset of this report, any movement then done where you can continue to support in that teaching and learning. So this is a great analysis for you to talk through with a parent. Okay?
All right, Alicia,
Okay, thank you, Alicia.
Everybody, I know
Thank
that
you,
was short, but I
Alicia.
hope it was.
Thank you.
We'll do it next time. Thank you.
You're
Yes.
welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, bye
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
See you. Thank you. Bye.